first time we're back in a little bit here.
Sean, you have a new mug. What is this mug that you have here?
So this is a mug that says I'd rather be curling, and it happened when, okay, so here's a little story where I was like, bad news for me, but good news for society. The other day, I was like, let me go to, because the bookstores reopened in Canada, or at least in Vancouver. Great news for Sean. Went to the bookstores, wanted to get some like, required reading these days. Specifically, I wanted to get a book called Me and White Supremacy.
It's very good.
I went to 2 fucking different bookstores. Like the entire like Black Voices section sold out. So I was like, bummer. Now I got to get ebook.
But also awesome.
Awesome because it sold out. So I was like, but while I was there, so it was kind of a bust going to the bookstore, but they did have this mug on sale for $7. And I was like, oh, that's great. Because here's the thing.
Have you ever curled before, Sean?
I've curled kind of half once. And you know what? I'd rather be curling.
Curling is very fun. This is going to make me sound like an even bigger dork than I already am. Curling is all about math. And it's about angles and velocity and
real life trig.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Same with pool. I love pool.
I grew up on the prairies, and curling is very, very big in Saskatchewan and like Alberta and Manitoba. And it's like a religion there. Like people think hockey's big there, and it is, but curling has this really weird sort of spot in people's hearts there. That's very strange.
I believe curling is, short of jousting, curling is the best televised spectator sport. And here's why. Because like the rocks and the thing is all well and good, but just watching some bald dude watch something go down like the length of ice, I'm so here for it. I could watch a whole game of curling and never see the rocks. I could just watch these people just like fucking.
And they're yelling and they're sweeping so hard.
Oh, and they really sweep.
The sweeping is my favorite part of curling.
And I think it's I don't know, there might be other sports, but I think it's the only sport that like middle-aged people with regular jobs play professionally. Like you have like we had a Canadian team who went to the Olympics who won gold, where their skipper was literally like a middle-aged mom of 2 who like is a full-time mom, and she's also an Olympic athlete who has a gold medal. Like there's not many sports where you can be both.
Yes.
And I think that's A, super cool, B, kind of sucks because it means they don't pay them very well. But it's super cool that it's like a sport that's super accessible to your general public.
I had a calculus teacher in high school who was so into curling that if there was a curling match on at the same time as my calculus class was canceled. And we just got a free block. And then there was one year in my,
How did they keep their job?
Such a good question, because
do that at a job.
None of us said anything about it because we were all doing really well in the class.
Not a lot of complaints.
This was like
calculus.
AP Calc. So like the only people who were there were the people who wanted to be there. And if you're in AP Calc, you're generally doing pretty okay in calculus. But then there was one time there was one exam that we had where there was a curling match in the middle of it. And so cut to me, grade 12, just trying to really do well in my calculus exam. And my calculus teacher is like screaming at her laptop in the corner because something had gone, I don't know whether it was right or wrong, but she was just like yelling in the corner of this classroom while we're all just trying to write our calculus exam. Shout out to Miss Walters. You were the best.
Miss Walters, chatWater loves Miss Walters.
chatWater loves Miss Walters.
It's official.
She's great.
Anyone who cancels calc because they'd rather be curling.
Honestly, we'd all rather be curling.
We'd all rather be curling.
Actually, no, there's nowhere else I'd rather be than fucking doing this show right now. Let's fucking go, boy.
Should we roll that intro?
Let's roll that intro.
Please.
Let's roll that intro.
And I will turn myself off. Here I go. Yeah.
That has got to be like the most like the best sort of like royalty-free tune ever. Like it's such a jam.
I mean, to be fair, I did take a royalty-free tune and then edit the shit out of it.
Oh, so this is a royalty-free M original.
Is this a royalty-free remix? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I remixed it. I did.
That's wild.
I like rearranged like 4 different parts of the track and then created that. Yeah. I had fun. I was on a roll after creating the intro spot and was like, I gotta make some great, sexy, jazzy music too.
It's great.
That, so.
We love it.
So much. Thank you. We should probably start by shouting out our amazing sponsors for the week. Big ups to Legendcraft and Silverwing Armory. Please go check them out. Legendcraft creates fantastic wood products, tabletop products like dice tubes, gaming tables also, and I think they're coming out with dice trays and stuff like that soon. So check them out at legendcraft.ca. If you decide to purchase anything, if you enter the code Blackwater at checkout, you get 5% off. And then please go check out Silverwing Armory at their Etsy page as well as their website, silverwingarmory.com. And if you enter the code Blackwater at checkout, you get 5% off, 10% off your purchase for campaign notebooks, the amazing spell cards that we've showed on our Instagram, as well as some really cool things like NPC cards where you can stat out an NPC and have them rather than have to like look in a book or have printouts or stuff like that. So
I'm not trying to pad out this ad. I just genuinely don't know what makes a campaign notebook different from a notebook.
Well, would you like to see a Silverwing Armory campaign notebook so that I can
guess
show
I
you?
would. Yeah,
yes.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Let's go.
One sec. Move. My cat is so big. One sec.
Yeah, that cat is massive. I know it doesn't look it like when it shows up in the screen back. That cat is like 3 footballs stacked together.
Start calling M Carol Baskin.
No, fucking, can't you not mention her or she'll come after your shit? Like,
yeah, sorry, what was that?
You call her, say her name 3 times.
Are you talking about my cat?
No, we're saying your cat is so big that we should start calling you Carol Baskin.
Thank you so much. So the thing about like a notebook is like, say, for example, this notebook, the original, like the decomposition books that I originally started writing the Blackwater notes in, they're great because they're lined and the paper is nice, but there's nothing to it that would delineate it from any other type of notebook. The thing I like about Silverwing Armory's books is that they are, one, really compact, which is really great. So you could have a bunch of them for if you're running a bunch of different campaigns or different story arcs. That can be really helpful. But the thing I like about them is they have a really beautiful index in the front. So you can mark where things are, talk about different types of adventures. I also really like that there's different types of paper inside. So we've got some beautiful graph paper in there. You can also, if you're a fan of like bullet journaling, they come with dotted paper also.
They dot it for you? You don't have to dot it?
It'll be dotted for you. You do not have to dot it yourself.
That's the stationary equivalent of sliced bread. All the time I've been wasting fucking dotting my pages. Christ.
Well, you should probably pick up some Silverwing Armory notebooks.
People know about this, that they will dot it for you.
You don't know, Sean.
Fucking dot your own pages like a peasant anymore.
It's the greatest thing since pre-dotted notebooks.
That we should probably change the phrase about it. Yeah.
Look, exactly pre-dotted. Wait, yeah. Look, undotted notebooks were pretty good. I was like, I can write things. I have to make a dot, which is a massive pain in my ass. But like,
and they have to all be marked out evenly.
And if you have a ballpoint pen, it makes the pen get all goopy from making the circles. So then the first time you write, it leaves that like just no-go.
I don't know. I am very particular about the type of notebook that I write in. Like, I think Tim can attest to this. The last time I bought a notebook, we were in chapters for probably 45 minutes while I had like a stack of 10 notebooks trying to figure out the one that I wanted. Not to mention when I was going to purchase this book, which carries all of the lore from episodes 52 onward. That one took me about an hour to choose.
I have been that boyfriend just in the stationery section being like, they all look good to me. Which do you like?
No, and heaven forbid when I'm going to buy like a planner, like that is like a whole nother thing. Anyway,
it's for the whole year.
Anyway, please,
Tim's probably like, I have a thing that day.
Yeah, I'm not going.
I'm not available.
Tim is probably in the chat, probably saying this is all true. But please go check out Silverwing Armory. Their stuff is amazing. They make these like fantastic. Oh, that's so bright. These little spell cards. I'm going to show them on our Instagram and all that kind of good stuff.
They make spell cards.
They make spell cards.
If you like want to make your own spells.
If you want to make your own spells, they have these pretty spell cards.
Here's the thing. Oh fuck, now's not the time. I'm just gonna say it. Catapult should be a cantrip. There, I said it. It's a 1d8 cantrip.
I feel like we should have I feel like we should have a whole episode about spells and magic.
It is.
I have some thoughts.
It's one of the most evocative fucking spells because it's so physical. Because the spell is you don't create anything. You take something that already exists and you send it careening at somebody else. But it's a fucking save or suck versus chromatic orb. If you miss, that fucking does a thing and you get to choose the damage. Fucking, it's so flavorful, but the fucking mechanics don't support the narrative. Mechanics, narrative, not kissing, not with catapult, but
no kissing.
It is a cantrip. Then you've got a wizard who's just hurling rocks, bottles, like just whatever's around.
Tables,
is that
chairs, anything.
Like it engages you as a player with your surroundings. As soon as I walk into like a place, I'm like, hey, is there any just like loose
change?
Or whatever. As long as it's under 5 pounds, you can fling it. And guess what? Like 1d8 at fucking level 1 to 5, 2d8 at level 6 or whatever. Like it just fucking scales just like Firebolt. It's just shorter range. It fucking come on.
But it allows for the same sort of shenanigans you get from Thaumaturgy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thaumaturgy.
Because Thaumaturgy is one of those spells that's almost completely pointless 90% of the time, but is used so much for gags and just sort of general fun.
Also, one of the most underrated cantrips, prestidigitation. You can do almost anything with that cantrip, but we should save all of this for a discussion about magic in a different episode.
That's what I'm saying. Catapult should be.
But I wanted to just say
one
sort of quick announcement, and this is we have been mentioning in our Instagram post different role-playing games. Check them out; they're awesome. But the one I want to talk about specifically, you posted the other day, called Nahul. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly.
It's Nahual. Yeah.
It looks.
Guys, it's pronounced narwhal. Like.
No, it's a Spanish word. It's a Spanish word, Sean.
It sounds absolutely amazing. It's like a Mexican urban fantasy where you play as shapeshifters who hunt angels, and I think like the imagery that you posted, like the art from it, looks amazing. Like I really we need to play this game. Like
I'm thinking about reaching out to the creator and seeing if he'll at least come talk to us about this game. And I would love to do that. And something we're hoping to do over the next little while is reach out to a couple different creators, especially Black and Indigenous and people of color within the RPG community, and want to get them on our show and talk about their games because they're all so cool. And one of the games that I will be rolling out a little feature for is something I'm probably I don't know if I've been more excited about something D&D related in a long time. And I cannot wait to share it with all of you. And I'm just going to leave it at that because you'll see a sprawling Instagram story about it. So keep your eyes posted about that one too.
Cliffledge.
I know it runs in the Carlson family.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
But I just wanted to shout that one out because like, it's not often that like RPG games in general get me super, super excited, but the art on this one alone, I was immediately like in that world. I was like, I understand what makes this game fun. Like,
and I think the cool thing about that game too is that you can play it from the research that I was doing into it. You can play it like a one shot. It takes about 3 to 4 hours. It works best with about 3 to 4 players, but it, as most RPG games do, really extends itself well to a long ongoing campaign because you can get into more of the political stuff, the intrigue, as well as just kicking a bunch of ass and kicking a bunch of angels to the curb, because you're not necessarily the group of characters that you play are kind of stuck in the middle of this war, this kind of like divine war. And they're essentially the people on the front lines who are doing all the dirty work about going after and hunting these angels who are trying to essentially colonize a society. So it's really, really cool. I would please check them out. Their Kickstarter, it's fantastic. The creator is like the lore and the amount of care that has gone into this game looks it's so cool. I'm so excited.
So do these angels, are they working for like
Miguel
the
Angel Espinosa is the creator of that.
Like, are they working for Yahweh? Like,
who knows? I don't think it's not explicitly out in the materials.
Okay, they are celestial beings.
They're a representative of some god.
Yes.
Okay, all right. You're not gonna be like punching up Gabriel, because I was like, that. Well, I'm like, oh, let's dig into the subtext there. That's my jam. But if it's just angel, if it's lowercase angels, dudes
yes,
with
I think
wings,
it's lowercase
people
angels.
with wings,
people with
wings, and probably without genitals.
I mean, look at Constantine, right? Which one is it? Legion. That was another one that had a very sort of that movie based on a graphic novel was also not a was also one where angels were not necessarily
good.
All they're cracked up to be, essentially.
Yeah. A lot of this game, this RPG has been created based on like graphic novels as well, that were also set in Mexico, which is really cool too. Yeah, so that's exciting. So please keep your eye on our Instagram stories for more features under the Games We Love highlight feature. There's some fantastic Indigenous games on there too, and also some by Black creators as well. So please check those out. Thank you. Yeah.
But as for tonight we're going to try and cover everything.
We have our own show.
Everything we should have covered last week, or we wanted to cover. Last week. We were optimistic as to the speed at which we would move through group dynamics.
chatWater, this is us getting there. We're getting there.
Well, getting to some of it.
You know what? We're going to get through it, Yanis. I'm going to have you get through this. It's going to be good.
So this week we wanted to talk about the world that you guys inhabit. That Blackwater inhabits. Sean, do you want to tell us a little bit about just a rough sort of idea about where
Sean,
the game takes place?
What's the world called, Sean?
Well, it's in the prime material plane.
Yes.
And it is called Teris, which is short for Tetris. It's sort of a colloquialism, and that's because of how well all the various continents fit together, much like the classic children's game in Teris, Tetris, which predated the continent. I mean, the landmass. Which actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I genuinely don't know how like planes work in D&D. Like, are they just planets? Are they just planets and we just fucking like bifrost to them? Or are they literal like flat discs? Like, because D&D could just be like a flat earther situation. But Teris specifically, made by there's 4 primordials, let me tell you that. Earth, wind, water, fire, and let's not forget heart, but they don't, that's less primordial than like heart's in there.
You're doing really well so far. You're doing really well so far.
In the beginning, before Tetris, and thus Tetris, there are these 4 primordials chilling on the cosmic couch.
You remember their names?
Yeah. Big Burn Boy, that's the one of fire. Glad to be here, that's the air one. There is Love Dirt. Love Dirt is the water one, funny enough. And then there's Bean Boy.
Come on, you know the Earth one.
You know the Earth one.
Arathis?
No.
Wait, who's Arathis? Oh, fuck. That's
Kokanese god.
Oh, Groombar. It's Groombar.
Yes.
Hey. Wait, Groombar's the Earth one, and Earth Rathis is like some fucking cog boy? Like, look, so...
Arathis is a woman.
Parents.
Also, Arathis identifies
Bean Boy
as a woman.
is a gender-neutral term. Look, Groombar isn't gendered. It's a big pile of dirt. Its friends call it Burn Boy, and its closest friend, Bean Boy. Wait, I've got them backwards now. The point is, they're all hanging out, and they're like, "We're bored," so they invented Tetris. They're like, "This is great. We should make this on a global scale." And they made the globe of Tetris, and they're like, "That's too. We have a hard time saying T's because we're like just cosmic entities." So they shortened it to Teris.
Right.
And they chilled, and then they made a mistake because they made people, and people banded together. They're like, collective subconscious and started creating gods. And the four primordials were like, oh fuck, we didn't know these little dudes could do that. And so the gods got upset because they're created by humans and thus imperfect and like, you know, pernicious like we are. And so they started fighting for ill-defined reasons. And the primordials were like, I guess we're gonna fight these guys. And they underestimated the collective will of humanity to worship and be subjugated. And so the gods went out, and anyone who sided with primordials got sent to super hell, and the primordials got sent to their own personal hells in their various planes of existence.
I had such hope for this, and it's just gone off.
I don't know
what.
Look, Em, if it doesn't happen at the table, how would I ever know this? Like,
we've talked about this. We've talked about the Dawn War.
Look, a lot of people say Dawn War at this table. No one's ever been like, so this guy walked into a bar and he's like, hey, what's up? I'm Dawn
I think
Creek.
I forget. I think I forget that the time that we really sat down and learned about the Dawn War, that might have just predated you. Or no, maybe you were there, maybe not. But it might have
I'm pretty sure I know what the Dawn War is at this.
And we're gonna have a whole episode on the Dawn War. That's like coming up very soon.
I feel like it's coming up right now.
Well, let's actually talk. We should probably talk about.
Need a reason to fight. Like, people don't really need a reason to fight. You put enough of them in a room, it's like cats. Like, they'll just fucking go at each other. And when
honestly, you're probably not wrong. And with that,
gods can't really kill gods, only we can. And so like they have to always like imprison each other and like entomb them and shit. So like that's the thing, like these gods fight and then they get put into timeout until someone like unlocks some ancient fucking tome, and then that god gets out.
This is what basically happened in the Dawn War. To chatwater, we will get there, Sean, I promise. There's a whole episode. It's coming.
And you don't even know if that was the first Dawn War. Like fucking that's the one they talk about.
It's the one they talk about.
You're acting like the Dawn War special. There'll be another Dawn War.
There'll be another Dawn War. No,
gods fight all the time.
From my understanding,
let them work it out. Work it out.
So you weren't wrong when you said that the four primordials created this inhabitant place of Teris. They did. And the four primordials are Istitia, she's the water primordial, Garrix, the fire primordial, Akkadi, the air primordial, and Grumbar, the earth primordial. And they work in kind of like dyads. So there's Istitia and Garrix are essentially like brother and sister, and Akkadi and Grumbar are sister and brother. So they kind of work in diametric opposites. But we'll talk about there's a section we'll talk about plane, unless you want to talk about planes right now, because we can do that.
Do they lay eggs? How do you gender a like?
I don't know. You should probably ask Tim Carlson. He created all of this.
I'm just saying. Look,
I like how your first question you wanted to know how you gender them, so you asked, "Do they lay eggs?" Like that would somehow give you an indication.
Like,
well, I was just thinking because like I didn't want to really get into like primordial genitals because like that's
I don't know,
like,
Sean.
because maybe they're like Pokemon and they lay eggs. All I'm saying is you gave me shit for naming one of them Bean Boy, and it's like, oh no, it's a girl. I'm like, fucking prove it's a girl. Unless we can talk to Grumbar and like Grumbar, like, what's your fucking pronoun? Like, I don't think you can say that a big pilot. Look, as far as I can tell, these things don't breed. Like, we're not created through like sexual reproduction. Thus, them having sexes seems like unless they're like putting it on themselves, like I think we should ask Grumbar and Akkadi how they want to be referred to.
From my understanding, the pronouns that are used for them are she and he. As of like she for Akkadi, he for Grumbar, she for Istitia, he for Garrix.
No, I get that. What I'm saying is, have we asked Akkadi, Bean Boy, and Burn Boy, and the other one that I made up before?
We have not. So we have not. So.
And there are like churches to these creatures, and no one ever bothered to just ask them. Ugh.
We should definitely do that.
Look, we can talk to Grumbar. We can, like, we're right there. Let's knock on his head.
Once we rescue Clack, we should go chat with Grumbar. Inquire about that.
Grumbar, do you lay eggs?
That'll be question number one.
That's how you should ask it. That's definitely.
So you're right. There are those are the main elemental planes. And then we've been to a couple of the cities in those planes. I have a whole bunch of stuff on cities, but yeah, let's talk about planes first. So the city in the air elemental plane that we've been to is Saral. We've passed through the water elemental plane very briefly, but we have no idea whether there are any cities or like dwelling places there.
Definitely merfolk. Definitely
Tritons and we have no idea if there are any like inhabitable places or cities or anything on the fire elemental plane, and then the earth elemental plane we know of the Scar. There are also a bunch of demi-planes as well. There's the demi-plane of dust, ash, ice, but the ice plane is now going to be Arathas's plane, and she's sealing that off for herself so that nobody can access it. There's the plane of steam, the plane of mud, and there's probably so many others. And ooze, yes, there is the plane of ooze. Yeah.
So, because I was talking to somebody, I think in game, and the plane of earth bumps up against the plane of dust, which becomes the plane of air.
Air, yes.
Is it just one big planet, or like what's the deal there? Because they are physically connected, correct?
That's from a lot of the, like, we'll have to ask Tim about this one specifically. But my understanding of the planes is they kind of, there's actually some diagrams out there of like these cosmic models of how they exist. There's like the upper planes, the material plane, the elemental planes, and the lower planes. So the upper planes would be places like the astral sea or like the astral plane, the Feywild, and other kind of more potentially good planes.
I guess what I'm asking is, because I always felt that was sort of like we're just going to visualize this because it's, but it seems like if you were to just keep moving in one direction, plane of Earth, you'd go like Earth, and then you'd be in dusty land, and then you'd hit air, so you'd have to fly, and then you'd probably hit steam, and then you'd be in fire or water. Like, if you just keep walking in one direction, you'll just keep hitting them. So theoretically
at least through the elemental planes, not necessarily the upper and lower planes, but maybe the elemental planes, from my understanding. Yeah.
I've always felt like it's those diagrams are like when you it's like when they talk about conceptualizing dimensions, like when you have like dimensions and they show like where they cross over or have points of sort of to use a different fantasy genre's perpendicularity where they sort of intersect. It's outside of a concept that we can grasp in terms of direction. So when we try and visualize it in direction, we use up and down. It is similar to that, but it's like in a dimension that we can't conceive. I once had, on a tangent story, I had a friend whose brother was a doctorate mathematician at Zurich University in Europe, and his specific field of study was shapes that you can't comprehend. So they were essentially shapes that can't be drawn, or shapes that they can only be proven mathematically. And I feel like that's the sort of interdimensional connections where it's like, we draw them so that people can try and understand,
but it really doesn't work like that.
It doesn't really work.
So let me try to illustrate it. So you got prime material plane, and that's Teris. That's fucking Wolfar. That's the labyrinth of glass.
We'll talk about all of the places on Teris in a minute. Let's just talk about planes right now.
You got Teris, Underdark, Shadowdark, like that's all there.
Yeah.
And then that's adjacent to fucking planes of earth, wind, water, and fire, right?
Elemental planes, it would they could kind of exist around it, sure.
Yeah, but like you can't unless you got special we can walk all over this. We can walk all over this. We cannot just walk from this to this.
It depends. So there are places on Teris where the like dimensional rift between the planes is very thin, and we'll talk about portals. So at the top of Mount Saral in the Sisters, in the north of Wolfar, is where we assume that the plane, the dimensional rift between the material plane and the airplane is the thinnest. In the Feywild, the place between the Feywild and the material plane is in the labyrinth of glass, and that is that's kind of all we know at this point.
It's kind of like upside down from Stranger Things, where it's like it's here, but not here. And then there are points where the veil is thin.
Yes,
you got to know where to look. You got to know where to look.
Yeah. Yes.
Because this is what I just fucking wrapping around. You could just wander the primordial plains forever and like just tour them all. But unless you go somewhere specific, you're not going to end up in the material plane.
Yes.
Likewise for the material plane. And
that's
then,
my understanding, yes. And I'm open to be corrected, Tim, but yes, that's my understanding.
That's right. And then you got this fucking astral, the various hells.
I thought I would go through the planes that we actually know about. Oh my gosh, where's that other piece of notes? My little one was playing with my papers today and just rearranged everything.
Anarchy.
Yeah, it's like we're truly all over the place here. Okay, yeah, so the planes that we know about or have been spoken about somewhere in Tim's world, we know about the negative energy plane. We know that exists because that's where the Raven Queen was shunted to by Nepthyseket during the late days of the Dawn War. We know about the Shadowfell. So there are Raven Queen ties in the Shadowfell. We'll talk about Thalbask and Gloomtharan a little bit too. So this is the tree of life. Yes, the tree of life and the tree of death. So the tree of death upholds the upper planes into existence, like preventing them from bleeding into the material plane. So this tree prevents all of these upper planes from anything in there getting into the material plane.
Are the planes fruit? Could we conceive of them like that?
I mean,
is the astral plane just one juicy pear
fruit on the tree? Maybe. I don't know. But in any case, so Gloomtharan, which is the tree of death, holds the upper planes in check, and Thalbask holds the lower planes in check. So Gloomtharan is in the Shadowfell, and it is planted near a temple. It is planted near a temple, and it is cared for by a group of Shadarkai monks, so shadow elves. There also at this temple is the burial site of the former champion of the Raven Queen. So the former champion of the Raven Queen before she fell, is buried there. Yes. We also know that the hells exist, multiple levels of them, and these ones are taken from traditional, canonical D&D lore. There's 2 that we've had interaction with across Tim's campaigns. In Blackwater's campaign, we've interacted with the 3rd level of hell when we were trying to stop Baron von Kron from sailing that piece of the Feywild through the hells. He was taking it to the 3rd level of hell, which is Minaris, which is ruled by Mammon, which is just obviously a bad, gross place. It's like the eternal. I think it's one of the eternal bogs or something like that, if I remember right from the lore, but am open to being corrected. And then also the 1st level of hell is Avernus, which is ruled by Zariel. And that I've interacted with in the other campaign that's set in Tim's universe, this one.
And so those are connected. There's a number of levels.
There's 9 of them. From my understanding, there's 9 of them.
Keep going
circling
down. And it just doesn't get better.
No, it gets worse and worse and worse all the way down. And then we know that the Abyss is a thing. The Chained Oblivion locked away there. Scary, bad place. Neppy's walked into it. Callie's been hurled through it. Very bad.
Is that beneath all those hells?
I think it is somewhere else. Okay. I don't think the Abyss. So because
the Abyss isn't super hell.
No, it's not super hell. Because the Abyss, the hells hold devils, and the Abyss holds demons. And then canonically, also in this universe, the Blood War also exists, which is the eternal ongoing war between the devils and the demons. That also exists too. We know of the astral plane because we've been there in the 2nd Adonis one-shot that we ran. This was for my birthday, not this year, but the year before. We went to the city called the Waypoint, which is the sister city of Sigil. It's a trading city. It's like a hub of interplanar travel. There's also mind flayers in the Astral Sea, as well as Githzerai and Githyanki there.
So if you go, so if you go to the Waypoint,
yeah,
there's just mind flayers chilling there, or they don't let them in the city. If you go outside the Waypoint, you got mind flayer pirates.
My sense is
astral barges.
My sense is maybe, yeah.
That's
we've never
rad.
We've been through the Waypoint, and we took some astral skiffs out just beyond the Waypoint and fought an astral dreadnought in the Astral Sea. Yeah. But the mind flayers canonically within D&D lore come from the astral sea or exist there and travel back and forth with the material plane to like the Underdark. But in this campaign, I'm pretty sure that's where all those mind flayers that were under Barmwitch went, that we chased away.
Deal with that.
We're going to have to deal with that at some point. We also know of Sigil, which is the city of doors, which is the sister city to the Waypoint, which is where we went in this Adonis one shot, which is also like a hub of interplanar travel, traveling in and out of planes. We know the Feywild exists, and a lot of this in Tim's universe is taken from some more canonical D&D lore, as well as a lot of stuff that he's created and some stuff that the character that I play in the other campaign that he runs has created. It runs on two main courts, the Seelie and the Unseelie court. The Seelie court is run by the Moonlit King. The Unseelie court is run by the Queen of Night and Magic. Spoiler alert, they used to be married, no longer married.
Do they have themes? Like, do they have a thing?
The Moonlit King is very much think like traditional, like aristocratic French court. There's like powder wigs, big hats, breeches, all that kind of stuff. And then the Queen of Night and Magic is very witchy and dark and that kind of like vibe. Then there's a bunch of lesser courts as well. The Lord of the Hunt is one of the lesser Archfey, the Queen of Witches, the River King, Reynod the Trickster, the Bear King, and the Snow Queen all have courts in the Feywild. There's also the Revenant Archives of the Senelise, which is a system of like tree libraries. It's a giant forest of all of the trees are hollowed out, and it is a huge library system. It is where a lot of the knowledge across the planes is kept. And there's likely a bunch of other planes other than these places, but we don't know about those yet. These are just the ones that have been mentioned in this universe that I have interacted with. Yeah. So those are all right.
But planes are sort of almost essentially infinite. Even when Spooky opens her magical house, that is essentially
it's a demi-plane.
Its own plane, essentially.
Yep.
So there's you're able to sort of create them, destroy them. They exist. So
they don't exist.
They don't exist. It's it's a pretty sort of difficult concept to grasp for us.
Yes, and unless you have access to plane shifting magic, you can't. And like the thing with planar travel in this universe is that you have to have the ability to do it, whether that's a scroll of plane shifting, or an item that lets you plane shift, or magic like a spell, the 7th level spell plane shift to do that. And you also have to have a totem, a token of some kind that is attached to that plane. So like with the elemental talisman that we carry, we can travel to any of the main elemental planes, and any of the demi planes that it's connected to. But to travel to say like we have a small nautilus shell. Neppy has it in her personal belongings as a totem, so we can get to the astral plane. We can just do that when we want to, if we want to. But to get to planes like the Feywild or the Shadowfell, we would need specific totems to get there. Yeah.
Did we not grab anything when we were in the Feywild?
No, I don't think we did, because it was a chunk of the Feywild. It's not necessarily you just grab a piece of the Feywild. It's a specific kind of totem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah. So.
The D&D classic component is a tuning fork that's tuned to the plane, and then of course Tim has his own. But that's sort of the idea is it has like a wavelength that you can hone in on.
You can't just Feywild, pick up a keychain and
you know where to look for it on a radio station kind of idea. It's a frequency to attune to.
Yes, that's a very good description. Yeah, exactly. And also we had a question come in, either, I think it was in one of the chat streams, but someone asked, are there 2 campaigns that run in this universe? So yes, I should say that there are 2 campaigns that run in this universe. There is this one, the one that Blackwater plays, set on Wolfar. And then there is another one that is run on the continent of Ishion, which I will talk about in just a second. So when we start moving into talking about the cities and the places across the world of Teris, I'm going to provide backstory on basically what I know and what Tim and I have chatted about. As well, any of the history that Tim has shared so far. We don't know a lot about a lot of these places. And I don't want to corner Tim into anything if he hasn't created stuff or is still expanding on that kind of stuff as well. So this stuff that, especially about places we haven't been or lesser known places, that is all subject to change. And I've also Tim and I chat a lot about this universe and stuff like that. And my sense is that when campaign 2 comes around, we will absolutely be setting it on a different continent, which is really exciting. So I'm only going to share bits and pieces about the continents that I don't know a lot about, especially if that's going to be somewhere we're set in the future. Yeah.
So let's just talk Wolfar. That's where we hang out. That's where we live. We got Wolfreen, got Barnwich, we got Shinkick.
And Wolfar is the continent that you guys exist on?
Yes. Yeah. So
that's where we live. That's where our house is.
So Wolfar is
keep
really
all our stuff.
Wolfar is really reminiscent of like Europe. There's mountain ranges in the north beyond, and which kind of give way. There's ice fields, which give way to more temperate climates as we kind of move towards the bottom of the continent, which is more Mediterranean-like. Lots of port cities with the capital city of Wolfreen. Wolfreen is ruled by an elected king and queen, which at the start of the campaign was Queen Telia, or Queen Thelia. I always pronounce it wrong. I think it's Thealia. Yeah, Thealia, and then is advised by or governed by a council of 6 other people, and it's currently ruled over by everyone's favorite Kamea Skysinger and the rest of the council. So there are 6 other people on the council. Do you remember who those are, Sean?
Absolutely.
Please dish me. Who's on the council?
Well, you've got Nessa. She's the wizard of the council.
Do you remember her last name?
Yes, of course I do. Nessa loves, she's really informal, so she likes to go with Nessa, but her last name is, Nessa is the first name, and the last name that comes after Nessa is Spell. Nessa Spell.
Nissa Timbers is her name.
Pretty close.
And she is a gnome, and yes, she is the Archmage on the council. Yeah. So that's
one.
And
so if you've got the Archmage, of course, you've got the Archfighter. You've got
the General of the Army. Yeah. Who's he?
I got that one right. He is Thickly Danforth. Known for his famous facial hair and scars across both his eyes. Most tough guys just have the one, but he got both because he's been around it.
2 scars. You heard it here first. His name is actually Illyrian Sulgar.
Well, that's his given name.
He's newly appointed to the council.
That's right.
Yes. Yeah.
And there's 4 more. Because you said there were 6 on the council.
There's 6 seats, but only 3 of the seats are currently taken. There is 1 unfilled seat.
There's 6 seats, but 3 are untaken?
1 is untaken.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because when the previous queen, so Queen Talia died, Cora Thorngage took her place, and then you folks don't know what happened to Cora Thorngage, but we do. Chatwater, we'll get there.
Actually.
Yeah, we don't.
We know some things that happened with her, but not what happened to her.
Something bad happened. And then Kamea was then given the position of queen. And then her council seat technically still needs to be filled, but they haven't filled it yet. So we've had the Archmage. You have the General.
The General. The big doctor. The person who keeps everyone healthy and safe.
There isn't one of those. Maybe
there
should be.
Surgeon General, excuse me.
Maybe there should be a Surgeon General.
That doesn't exist? There's the big bard, the king of parties.
No, that's letters.
Calls. Oh, that's true, actually. 1 less seat.
There's the admiral of the Navy. Do you remember the admiral's names?
2 of those. Yeah, his name is Leganis. Finnan. He's Papa Finnan.
No.
Is it not Finnan's dad?
No.
Fuck.
No, the Admiral of the Navy is named Admiral Amizim. Then there's also the Treasurer, who's Wendell D. Paulo, and then the other councilman, Andaz Silmac. So those are
what do they do? What's their jam?
Well, Wendell deals with the money because he's the treasurer.
And what's the other council person?
Andaz is like one of the prime advisors to the queen.
Oh, they don't even get a title. That's embarrassing.
Yeah, so that's the
he's the Ringo.
What was Kamea's seat's role before she was?
It's a council. It's like a council person.
She was also
advisor.
A council person. Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the last seat?
It's an unfilled council seat, to my knowledge.
And it's untitled.
It's untitled and unfilled at this point. Yeah.
So how are they going to go about filling that seat?
I don't know.
Letters.
Do we not know about that?
Letters. I don't know that.
It's like a nomination and a voting system.
There's a spot for a king of partying, I believe.
Yeah.
Letters should get on
Letters is a doge at best. So, your words, not mine. King of party. I mean, it does have an excellent ring to it, and I'm sure he'd be widely beloved. But that's.
So the continent's called Wolfar.
Wolfar, yeah, and that was named. So the town of it's named after the first city on it, which, to my knowledge, was the first main city on it was Wolfreen. So that was the city of Wolfreen was originally founded by a group of refugees that took shelter in an ancient temple of Pelor, which is now where Wolfreen stands, which is near where the Gatestone Monument was before it was destroyed by Velsum. The first leader of Wolfreen was named Myri Wolfren, and she was elected queen. She was like a young. There was a leader. There was like an elected, kind of like this group of refugees came. They elected a leader. He died, and his daughter Myri became the first kind of leader of Wolfreen. And one of the priestesses in Nepi's history was actually an advisor to Myri Wolfren. Her name was Belsolis. Yeah, and so Wolfreen is a major trading port. It's the largest city on the continent, and there's two cities that fall under its purview. So Southwatch and Westwatch, which are down. Southwatch is right there, and Westwatch is over here.
To the west.
Yes.
Okay.
And Wolfreen generally would be kind of under the purvey of Pelor. That would be kind of the patron deity of Wolfreen. Yeah, so that's Wolfreen.
Have we run into any Pelor worshippers? Do they ever knock on Blackwater Keep and have you heard the good news or?
Well, we know that there was the priests and the clerics of Pelor came, and they were the ones who sealed the rift that opened at the Gatestone
they're all right.
Keep. And I believe Sunkeeper is the title, but I forget his name. He's the high priest of Pelor. That's there. But we do have a little bit of history with the patron that Finnan used to serve fell under kind of the purview of Pelor. But that's kind of the extent of the history with Pelor that we have. We don't have anybody in the party that's a cleric to Pelor or anything like that.
TBD.
So, TBD.
To be discovered.
So that's Wolfreen. Southwatch is somewhere we haven't been at this point, and it's more of like a fort city. It's not very big. It's kind of like a naval outpost, and it gatekeeps the Whaling Bay. So Wolfreen is at the top of this large inlet, and Southwatch and Westwatch are kind of the two cities on either side here, and this is the bay that enters kind of up that way.
Now, Whaling Bay, is that spelled like whoa or like?
Like crying, wailing, that kind of wailing. And it's Southwatch. It also is placed there as a means of keeping peace with the town, with the city of Svel-En, which is not under Wolfreen's purview, and we'll talk about Svel-En in a moment. But it was kind of just like a hey, we're here too, and because the relationship between Svel-En and Wolfreen didn't used to be peaceful as it is now. But that relationship is more peaceful now. And then Westwatch, it definitely is a bit more Mediterranean-esque feeling, like the weather-wise on that side of the continent, and is kind of currently under construction, more of a fort town as well, and it was built there to oversee the towns of Harbarston and Cinderfall. Yeah, so that's the lore I have about those two cities.
So Adonis's shop is in
Svelin.
Svelin.
Yes.
What's Svelin like?
We've been to Svelin a couple times. What do you remember about it?
Remember, it was very similar to Wolfreen. One could even be mistaken for thinking they were in Wolfreen, being in Svelin. And if one were to want to see a friend from Wolfreen but in Svelin, that would be a very common mistake to make. Because I think by the time I got to Svelin, you guys had been a couple times, so Tim didn't really like give it its like usual description per Nash. He was like, "We're in Svelin." I was like, hell yeah.
So Svelin is over here
That's where I would have put it, yeah.
on the bottom of the continent. And it is a mid-sized city, which is ruled over by King Evard N. And his soon to be succeeded by his daughter Mira N. We've had lots of interaction with King Evard. I think Neppy saved his life. He was kind of on death's door after the war that had broken out with Wolfreen, and we went to Svelin, and Neppy broke a rib, essentially like healing him with life transference. So she saved him and probably gave him back
like a too big hug.
Yeah, like a too big hug of like, I'm
going to
heal
hug
you
so much that either you or they or both get hurt.
And then Mira N was who we rescued from the Earth elemental plane. One of the first times that we went, that's why we went back, was to rescue Kern and Mira. Kern being General Kern Burnman, who is now the captain of the guard in Svelin. Sean, you look very confused.
Wait, who's Mira? So we went to the Earth elemental plane to get Mira, but on the way we got Jar. And they're my boys. We got
Petch.
Gorge.
Yes.
We got Gorge because he's getting eaten by a spider. He's like, I'll help you, but you need to get my boy Krager. And so you guys came back.
We got Krager first.
Okay, they're interchangeable. You got Krager first, but you're actually there to get Mira.
We were there to get Kern and Mira, because what happened was they were supposed to be teleporting back to Svelin, but their Zakis, chatWater will get there. Zakis of Saral, bad guy, essentially teleported them to the kidnapped them and sent them to the Earth elemental plane, and they got trapped in slavery. Essentially, like Kern was a gladiatorial fighter, and Mira got put in some form of indentured servitude. And we fought when we fought in the fighting pits. We fought to get Kern and Mira back. And that's why that's how we got them back. So Kern Burnman, we met him very early on in the campaign. Svelin was the second city that we ever went to on the continent when we first started playing. We used to have a house in Svelin, but we've never actually stayed in it, and then it got commandeered to be a military hospital. So we no longer have, it was given to us because chatWater will get there. We got a house there, and and now we don't have a house there.
It sounds like they commandeer. You can't commandeer something. You can take it back. Perpetuity.
We'd never lived in it.
Well, let's fucking. They gave it to us, or you. Let's get it back.
Kern Burnman is such a great D&D name.
He had a twin named Dern Burnman, who tragically died in the very first
characters
episode.
That Adam created?
No, Tim did this.
My God, they're both like that.
What is his name? Kern, and his last name Burnman.
Burnman, yeah. No,
so his name's Kern Burnman. Yeah.
I have a very soft spot in my heart for Kern Burnman. He is one of my favorite NPCs. He also lost an arm in the Earth elemental plane, and so he lost an arm because we waited like 3 weeks to go get him. Yeah, so it was kind of bad.
Blackwater, we'll get there.
Blackwater, we'll get there.
Clack is just gonna have a torso missing. It took us so long to get him. He's just gonna be a head
3 days
attached to legs.
So
you can do that with magic.
You can reattach body parts.
but like you don't have to regrow them. Neppy could do this. Like if we had someone we really didn't like and we had their legs and their head, she could just like make them a leg person.
You can't correct them. You can't attach them incorrectly. The spell like specifically defines against doing that. Yeah, I've looked.
That's so lame, Wizards of the Coast. Like,
yeah, don't put legs where your arms are supposed to be. I don't know.
So where is Neppy is from?
Neppy is, oh gosh, that is on an entirely different continent.
She's from a different continent.
Different continent. Yes. Yeah, so let's talk about Wolfar first, and then we'll talk about the other continents.
No, I was just curious where everyone in the party came from.
Oh yeah.
Wolfar.
Yeah.
I just picked a really bad first person to ask about.
Finnan is from Wolfreen. Born and raised in Wolfreen. Spooky is from Barmwich. Kokanee is from Bakal on Katona. Neppy is from Katona as well, potentially. But that's where she was raised. Letters is from the Earth Elemental Plane. And Callie is from the Labyrinth of Glass, which is on Ishion, a different continent, which we'll talk about shortly. But yeah, so Svel-En rules over, looks over Tor-En, which is the very first city that we went to, which is a very small village nestled in the Core-En woods.
Is that named after Torin, former party member?
No, it's N. It's like Tor-En, which is
there
named
is
after
no relation between Torin and Tor-En.
No.
Hilarious.
No, none at all.
Okay. Cool.
And then so Svel-En rules over Tor-En, which is kind of like a hub for farmland, which exists around there. It also rules over the Core-En woods, which is like a very thick forest that's there, and then also the ruins now of the fishing village that was Sil-En. So Sil-En was a fishing town and a small port, but in very, very early on in the campaign, essentially it was swept away. A tidal wave kind of came and collapsed the city, which we know was summoned by one of the agents of chaos, Delnus Deeprun. He summoned essentially a tsunami and wiped it out.
Do we get that guy?
We did. This was before you joined chatWater. We'll get there. Yeah, that was before you joined the campaign. So yeah, so that's Torrens, Svel-En, and Sil-En. Barmwich, you asked about where Spooky's from. It is a small, primarily gnomish city and halfling as well.
Barmwich is rad. Can I hop in here?
Please hop in about Barmwich.
Genuinely, so we went to Barmwich. When we went there, it was crazy. It was taken over by those squid boys, the mind flayers.
Yeah.
And so it had gotten real militaristic. But the cool thing about it, it's a halfling town that is actually pretty pro-military. They got something called the Glitter Guard, which they got real shiny armor.
Yeah.
They basically take regular armor and just bedazzle it, and it's excellent.
Chrome, baby.
And so it's like they're like really intimidating and like all dressed out in the armor, like, oh, we're like a military society, but they're all very small. So it's like a real pleasing kind of like, yeah, you get them, guys, kind of situation over in Barmwich. As far as like the nightlife, pretty dead when we were there. Not a lot of people really having a good time due to all the brain slugs.
Yeah.
But it seemed like things were really picking up when we left.
Well, it's always had a history of being a really fiercely independent city. It has a long history of democratic leadership. It's always had a really strong military presence. I remember, and I'm sure Jen can talk about this when she comes on and talks about Spooky, but there's a lot of history of like going into politics or you go into the military when you're in Barmwich. And their kind of patron deity would be Garl Glittergold, the gnomish and halfling god. Svel-En's patron god is Moradin. So Moradin would kind of be the patron god of Tor-En, Svel-En, and Sil-En, and the Core-En woods. But it's not a dwarvish town.
That's right. Moradin's the dwarven god of forge. And
but this is more of like think of like forging and that kind of
thing.
And so that's the patron god of that.
What's the tea on Moradin and Arathis? Because you got like the tinker god and the forger god. Are they into each other? Do they not like? Are they frenemies? Are they like
Arathis in typical D and in canonical D&D lore? Arathis and Melora were together. That's the tea on that. Okay. That's in canonical D&D lore. Arathis and Melora were together.
So of the party, there's actually very few of them who are from the continent of Wolfar.
Yeah.
Because it's only Finnan and Spooky.
Yes. Yeah.
So then how does everyone else get, like, without delving too much into all the other continents, how does everyone else get to this? Like, how does the story sort of take place on Wolfar?
We chatWater will get there. We all met in the town of Toren. We were all drawn there for a festival called Ethereal's Renewal, which is a festival celebrating the Lunar New Year. So we were all drawn to that town for various different reasons. Callie wasn't with the party yet. We met her in Svel N. I think in like session 3 or 4 maybe, and she joined us as we were heading up to Sil N. Finnan we met in Wolfreen. Torin we met in Caradoc when he was with the party.
Where's Caradoc now?
Caradoc's in the top. It's like in the upper.
That's Wolfar.
That's Wolfar. Yeah, it's
okay,
on. Yeah, it's in the. It was buried under the ice. Yeah, it was buried under the ice for a really long time. Yes, but now is unfrozen.
Place.
Now is unfrozen. And then Neppy was drawn there because she was seeking her prophecy and had heard tidings of chaos coming from that side of the coast. So she was kind of making her way through the cities on that side after having landed in Wolfar not long before that. So she had come from Katona over.
What's her prophecy again? What's the wording of that prophecy?
Lo he who brings the end of days, or lo he who brings, oh my God, lo he, you know what? I don't remember it now. She's done her prophecy. It's fine. No, it was about chaos. It was like he who brings the end of days, who will let chaos into the world. So she had to go out and hunt one person who was supposed to do that, which it ended up being Velsum.
Well, that was a guy.
A guy.
Was it the guy?
We certainly hope so, because Neppy thought that the 4 agents of chaos were the people of her prophecy. And she was like, how could this prophecy be wrong? Like, was it 4 people, not 1? And then she realized, oh no, it wasn't them.
Is Velsum Mr. Chaos, or is he Mr. Chaos right now?
That's such a good question. We don't know.
Neppy's going to have like an existential crisis when she realizes that it can apply to anyone who's evil.
Her whole life is full of existential crises. So yeah. So where else have we been that Letters has been on? I'm just trying to think on Wolfreen or on Wolfar. Hartsvale. We've been to Hartsvale. It is it's a small hamlet on the way to Barmwich. It's primarily Firbolg, and it's fun fact: Letters got into a fight there. You got into fisticuffs with somebody.
It was Tilly time.
Yep, and it's former refugees from the continent of Guthstrom. When we'll talk about Guthstrom in a second. So a bunch of Firbolg refugees came down from Guthstrom and then settled in Hartsvale.
Didn't we talk about Guthstrom in the last session? Isn't that where the Minotaurs all got taken from? Or am I making that up?
No, they got taken from the south of Katona, which is the biggest continent. Guthstrom is like way to the north. It's colder up there. And then there's also Fawe Tavar, which is where we found Jar. That's where we found Jar. So Fawe Tavar is an elven city where wood elves are the ruling class and high elves are a secondary lower class. It's home of the Thexan Academy, which is the most prominent magical training school on the continent. And yeah, it's where we found Jar. She was essentially she's a high elf. So she was abandoned in the sewers after she had done something. chatWater will get there. So we rescued her and took her back with us. And we also rescued Nissa from Fawe Tavar.
I really want to do the Jar origin story when we have Lennon on the show. I think that's a
fun fact. That's next week. We're having Lennon on the show next week.
Yes. Well, then next week I want to find out all about Jar. I want Sean to tell me all about Jar.
I would love to hear Lennon talk all about Jar, because there's so many things that I just roll with that like And they're
that was
and
before
there's
your
this
time.
child. Yeah. No, there's like, I guess I've
time.
been here for like a while, but you guys did a lot of things that you became very endeared to. And you're always like, oh, it's this thing we're excited about. I'm like, hell yeah. Like, I am constantly the boyfriend coming to like family Thanksgiving and like, it's time to blow the goose. And I'm like, yeah, I love this tradition. Can't wait. Like,
that's so funny.
That's how it feels every time we go somewhere we've already been before.
Oh my
it's like,
gosh.
oh, Uncle Pete.
I'm like crossing off things on my list of places we've talked about. Shinkick, that is another town that is
bad town.
It was, well, I mean, it doesn't
it's
really
a bad town.
It doesn't really exist anymore.
Yeah.
So it was formerly a gnomish town, and it was ruled over by Nissa. They called her the Great Foreman of the town. Nissa is also like 400 years old. She's really old.
Is that old for a gnome? What are they?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, that's old for a gnome. And so they like the gnomes of Shinkick had a long-standing conflict with the elves of Faway Tavar, because as the village of Shinkick was expanding, Faway Tavar was like, we don't like that, and so they were constantly warring with each other. The gnomes of Shinkick were also pioneers of a prototype gun, which Nissa had essentially created while she was being guided by Arathis. And then below Shinkick was an old Caraxian outpost. So there was like an experimental weapons lab below the city of Shinkick, which Nissa had been working in. And the town of Shinkick is nestled in the Keyless Expanse, which is a big forest on the northwest, just below Caradoc. So that's Shinkick. I'm trying to think if there's other places on... There's some other places that we haven't been to. Or yeah. Okay. Silan.
So when you say Shinkick doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, it kind of blew up. The factory exploded.
The factory exploded.
Mm-hmm. And there was a war. We kind of snuck our way through a big conflict between the gnomes of Shinkick and the elves of Faway Tavar. And then Nissa raised a giant war clockwork golem out of the ground and marched her way towards Faway Tavar. Chatwater, we'll get there.
And so Nissa's a good guy? Like,
she is good. Yeah. She was also just kind of she'd been crazed with like dreams from Arathis for a really long time, because she'd been doing all that kind of stuff. Chatwater, we'll get there.
So wait, no. Are we in a rush? I don't think so.
We're talking about the world.
Like, we can list a lot of places, but like,
yes.
let's scratch
ask your questions.
Let's scratch this. Let's sniff it. Let's let that percolate. So Nissa's like, Nissa's like, hey, I run Shinkick, a town that is as pleasant as it sounds. And from what I've heard, I didn't go, but you guys constantly talk shit about Shinkick, it being like very dangerous and like very rowdy.
It's because we almost died there.
Yeah, that's what I hear. A lot of gnomes.
It was really hostile
with little
to
knives
us.
in their shoes. So when they kick you, they also shiv you.
Well, they just had a whole bunch of guns, and there was also like Shinkick also used to get attacked all the time by giants. So they were constantly on guard. Yeah. And they had like patrols going to see if they were getting attacked. So they were very like insulated from outsiders. So we were looked on very strangely. So we essentially stopped in at Shinkick to get supplies on our way up to go investigate Caradoc for the first time. And then didn't go, well, we went back very quickly.
So Nissa's doing her thing and she's like, giants, that's a big thing. And then she's like, you know what? Elves, let's pick a fight. Like, who?
The elves picked a fight with Shinkick.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
elves
so they were
the
just
bad guys. We don't like them.
Yeah, we're not a huge fan of the elves.
Probably don't like them because they are the classist ones. They got the high and low elves. I see where we're throwing our cards in. And so the factory exploded due to user error, elven sabotage.
So there was the elves were attacking the factory. I'd have to go back through my notes again, but I know the factory exploded because we were in the factory when it exploded. And we just escaped. A couple of us got singed pretty bad. And then we discovered the underground outpost because we like went through an offshoot tunnel, discovered this underground outpost, and then we followed Nissa down there. She ran into this giant mechanical golem like bubble or like hatch thing. And then she lifted this thing out of the ground and fucking marched her way towards Fawe Tavar, which is where we rescued her from.
Sweet. So you're like, Nissa, you're 400 years old. That's old even for a gnome. Yes. You're like a hero of class warfare. You keep your rowdy, gun-toting, gnomish city safe, but it's all done blown up, so you didn't do that good a job. But like,
well, now all of the gnomes from Shinkik came to Wolfreen. That was one of Nissa's. That's what we're saying. Yeah, that was one of Nissa's things that she was like, I'll be the Archmage if you come keep my people safe.
There you go. Yeah. How's the real estate market looking in Wolf? Like, was that it? I guess they don't take up much room because they're bite sized.
You should probably ask him about the real estate market about in Wolfreen.
Well, I don't know. I'll ask you, but I've been thinking about like, where are we going to build this spider ranch? Is zoning an issue? Like,
that sounds like a letters problem, you know? Like that sounds like you're going to have to find some real estate.
Are you a gravel boy or not?
Neppy's a gravel boy.
Then you should be concerned with these things as well. That's all I can say.
There is like a bunch of forest land.
We need to find a place to build a labyrinth of class. We need to build a spider farm where the spiders don't get out. Because let me make this very clear. We are introducing an exotic species into a biome that is not ready for giant spiders.
No.
Like, I don't know what grows near Wolfreen, but like they are
forest.
Deer and stuff. Deer.
You should probably not introduce giant spiders to the material
that's
plane.
Why we need
or on this continent at least
proper zoned land so that we can have a properly kept spider farm.
I feel like you should. That's the conversation that Letters is probably going to have with the council about. Can I get some land for this?
Zoning application. We're going to do a whole episode on Letters zoning
application.
What?
That's so funny.
Look, real estate is an important market, and it's important that if you get into it, you get it right. Because otherwise, they'll get you for squatting. Although, take it from my cold dead hands. Like,
I do want to talk about one place in particular before we run out of time, especially with Lennon joining us.
We've got time.
We've got time with Lennon joining us next week.
Yeah.
But I want to know about the Labyrinth of Glass because it's been hinted at. I know there are dinosaurs on the Labyrinth of Glass.
Can I show you folks a map?
Yes.
Can I show you some visuals? Okay, I'm going to share my screen.
Is it the one behind you?
No, this is the map of Ishion I'm going to show you, and I'll talk a little bit about Ishion. Is it that one? Yeah. Cool. Can everyone see that? That is the map of Ishion. So the Labyrinth of Glass is this really big kind of archipelago of islands down here. It is the place where there are like various places throughout it. There's some like thinning where you could enter the Feywild. It's kind of climate and geography and topography would be more reminiscent of North America, but smaller. Lots of port towns, primarily city-states, with the capital city of Pegor, with its sister city of Teia over here. Drake's Watch no longer exists. It's now renamed Portly Barum because Drake's Watch was a town that had been taken over by cultists of a dragon. So it has been liberated and has been renamed Portly Barum, saved by the adventurers Lorem Liberum, which is the other campaign that we play. This is where Thalbask used to be planted. Thalbask was burned down, but a bough of Thalbask was saved again and replanted actually in Portly Barum. Tialmo is a city that is run by 3 families. There's an elven family, a dwarven family, and a dragonborn family. Uruk-Mesh is an orc city and kind of like a more bestial races city. There's also the town of Merdoon, which is not on here, but it's in there. It's a dwarven town, and yeah. So that is Ishion. That continent is close by to.
And so down here in the south, this Labyrinth of Glass, that's where Callie's from. That's where we got all the dinosaurs, all the fun stuff.
Mm-hmm. There is a city named Taipan on there too, which is, it's a city. It's more like a fishing village, but that's the one city or the village that I know of in the Labyrinth of Glass. Me, Emma, not Neppy. Yeah.
The this on Ishion, is it
Yes.
People wise, is it mainly humans or elves or
Great question.
slightly more exotic races?
A whole mix. I wouldn't say like Urukmesh would probably be more like bugbears and hobgoblins and orc. Drake's Watch is a mix. The Labyrinth of Glass, very mixed as well. Tialmo, you're going to see a lot of the kind of the three races that make up the three main families who look over the town. So elves, dragonborn, and dwarves, but is very, very mixed as well. And then Tea and Pegor are both very mixed too. So no specifically nothing, no more of the exotic races more than anything else.
So like, because I didn't hear, from what I gather, unless it's not spoken about because you guys are already familiar with characters, but there aren't a lot of like dwarves or orcs or stuff like that on Wolfar, are there?
Yes, there are. Let me show you where. I'm going to stop sharing that and I'm going to share something else. Here we go.
So it's a pretty even distribution. It's not like one continent is mainly, certain races and another is a different. Okay.
Yeah, so up here in the Sisters Mountain Ranges, the city of, let me zoom in here, the city of Wirangdun is primarily Dwarven as well. This is where Fawe Tavar is. Up here is Caradoc. Down there's Wolfreen. There's Cinderfall down here, Clore over here on the right, Svel-En over there. We've been to the Alderdon as well. That's a place on Wolfar where the portals to the Feywild are also very thin in the Alderdon forest. Alderwood is the city, the Alderdon is the forest. It's quite thin in there too. On Cinderfall, which is down here on the bottom. Let's see if I can get
That's
down
where
there.
We got the dragon.
That's where the
dragon's from.
That's where the Clockwork Dragon was from. There is literally like an active volcano here on the island, the King's Cauldron, and this kind of adjoining landmass here where the city of Cinderfall is. Think like Mount Tied on Tenerife in the Canary Islands, which is essentially what this this little landmass is based on. This is the port city of Cinderfall here. Lots of dragonborn, some lizard folk, some tieflings, some humans, and half orcs. It is a farrier city to Katona, so like the bigger continent where Nepi and Kokanee are from. There's some farming at the edges of the jungle, lots of trade here too. The temple at the King's Cauldron, right down here, they worship Garrix, the Friar Primordial. And this is where we popped into while we were destroying the phylacteries. And that's where we popped into there, and that's where the Clockwork Dragon was held. Clore, which is behind, just above Cinderfall here. This is like, think tropical jungles of Madagascar mixed with the feel of New Orleans. So it is, there's three main islands, Skorna, Karis, and Othos, with the capital of Azura on Othos, and it's governed loosely by three main groups: the Resurrection, which is a thieves guild, the Stalkers Pact, which are hunters and mercenaries, and then the Pleasure Wilds, which run brothels and contraband. So the city of Harbarston over here is kind of like the entry city of all of the contraband that comes from Katona, Clore, and Cinderfall into Wolfar.
So it's basically just like...
Is Kern Burnman from Harbarston?
He's not. He's from Svel-En. So the city of Westwatch down here was basically set up by Wolfreen as kind of the sister city to Southwatch to keep Harbarston in check and to like get an eye on all of the contraband that's coming through, and also serve as kind of a sentry to the Whaling Bay before, like, say any navy was coming into Wolfreen, like attacking navy, they would have a sense of that coming through Southwatch and stuff like that.
Clore just sounds like everything I imagine the Bayou would be.
Clore is awesome. In one of my other characters, Bix, she's from Cinderfall originally, but Clore is great. It's terrifying, and like there's a bunch of trafficking, there's drugs, there's like it's it's intense, but it's great. I really like Clore. I think it's very fun. We've also been to Ice Meet, which is where we originally, we chartered that boat to go to the Forgotten Expanse, which is up here. We stopped in at Sisters Watch, and then Manta is in here. So that's where the city to the Raven Queen was. And this whole, like the Forgotten Expanse actually used to be attached to Wolfar. But during the final days of the Dawn War, Estitia flooded all of this area and cut Manta off from the rest of Wolfar. Yeah, the Manta was the patron city of the Raven Queen and the former home of the Tree of Life, Thalbask. So that's where all that stuff.
Where's the Tree of Life now?
It is on Ishion, planted in Portly Barham,
right.
And it's quite small.
That's right.
It's quite small because they a bunch of other stuff happened. The original the tree that was planted there was burned. So it has been replanted in Portly Barham.
As like a graft or like a new tree?
A graft. The only thing that was saved was a small bough, and it is regrown with a lot of help of magic. A warlock and a druid using a lot of plant growth to help grow that tree in shifts. So we also have so the Sisters Mountain Range here, which is, so there's 3 mountains. Oh my gosh, Tim gave me lore on the Sisters. Where did it go? I don't know where it went. Well, I will tell you actually a fun story about the Weeping Widow and Widow's Run, which is the only one of the lower mountains here. It's a glacial mountain that feeds the sea. A priestess from Nepi's order has actually went to the Weeping Widow and fought a soot dragon and killed it there. But there is a myth that after the Goliaths settled the mountain on because the Caraxian Empire, which their capital city of Caradoc, used to kind of rule over all of Wolfar. It used to extend to the entire continent. So war broke out over the dominion of the land, and the peace was brokered when a human prince, Thenak the Quick, fell in love with the daughter of Saral, who was one of the Goliath leading Goliaths who named the sisters, and their union was like a big truce. And when the princess Arthalia, the Goliath, fell ill, Thenak was said to have built the mountain with his bare hands to try and appease the gods to keep his love alive. And when she died, they said his grief was so big and that his tears ran over land and flew and spread to the sea. So that is why it is the Weeping Widow and Widow's Run. That's the legend around that. Yeah, Tim just dropped that little lore bomb on me. He's like, that's some deep lore you can share. I was like, thank you so much. That's so nice. So we haven't been to Athal's Calamity. There's something to do with the Caraxians here, but that was like a lore bit that was dropped in session 10. There's something there, but we've never been.
You keep mentioning these Caraxians, and we've got Caraxians item. Now, do they have any relation to Caradoc? Or?
Yes, they are. So Caradoc was the Caraxians were an ancient people who were essentially Arathas's people. And they ruled over the ruled. They what's the word? They were all over the continent of Wolfar. But in when Caradoc fell, people just started going into different places, and so there was no more Caraxians. And Sisters Watch up here was a Caraxian outpost. Sisters Watch was actually used to be up on top of a giant plateau, and so when that was all flooded, it was the only thing of the landmass that remained. And then there was an outpost in Barmwich. Oh, sorry, Shinkick, and a couple other outposts across, and that. Yeah, so that's Wolfar, which is pretty great. I'm going to stop sharing that one. Yeah, so that's Wolfar. We've also been to Ice Meet, which is the small fishing town where we chartered a boat to get to the Forgotten Expanse. I'm trying to think where else we haven't been. Harbarston, I talked about being the like contraband town that fills everything in. And I think that's about it on the continent of Wolfar. So we can talk about other places now. That's on the other continents if you want to. There's a bunch. Briefly.
How many continents? How many are we talking? Because
well, there's Ishion, which I showed you the map of. There's also Guthstrom, which I can show you a very preliminary map of.
Oh no, but I don't think we have time to dig into all of them.
Okay, so there's Guthstrom. Guthstrom, think like Scandinavia. There's some large cities with mountain ranges, with the largest city being Hvitserg, and a notable location being the Pools of Despelarion, which is where like a really prominent adventuring group, they were like level 20 adventurers, were buried there, and like it's their final resting place. And also the Reina Peaks, which are like,
were they buried with their like armor items and swords and stuff?
They were, but the armor isn't there anymore.
How do we know that?
I know that because my other group has gone and we've been gifted their items. So yes.
All right.
Yeah. So that's up in Guthstrom.
So Sean, you're gonna have to kill them.
Yeah, you're gonna have to kill
get it.
Lord Blueberrum to go get their stuff.
That sounds
it's some good shit.
Fucking achievable.
There's also Garyang, which think like Russia or Siberia. There's no real cities, mostly small villages and nomadic groups of like really hard. It's hard living up in Garyang. There's the Marinora Archipelago, which is a very large set of interconnected islands. Think like Central America and the Caribbean, that kind of feel to it. Warmer in climate. The one city that I know of that's there is Ellery, the city of Ellery in the Marinora Archipelago. And then there is Kotona, which is the biggest continent in Teris. Think like the Middle East giving way into Africa. Deserts and a sand waste with the port cities in the north, the major capital of Bakal, which is like no longer, and which used to be like a massive trading city. Deep in the desert is Temple Philenis, the main temple of Nephthisiket, which is down the Trail of Penance 2 weeks from Bakal. Then after the deserts, that gives ways into mountains, which gives into grassland and then jungle. And now we know that there is the city of Keros in the south, which is where Minotaur are from, which is like Greece, essentially, in climate. And then there is also, I'm actually just going to quickly show you a map of the Amonkhet. So we've all seen this map of the Amonkhet. It's on our Instagram. Bakal's here, Temple Philenis down here. Take's spear over here. That is the home of a warlord named Take. We don't know anything about it other than that. And the ziggurat being this old monument in the desert. And then the Forgotten Tomb is where the old city of Amonkhet used to be. And then this is the Trail of Penance through the Burning Sprawl, which is this giant wasteland desert towards Temple Philenis. So that is the Amonkhet Peninsula.
Not a lot of civilization on the peninsula.
It's
anymore.
Hot. No, there's not a lot there anymore.
I mean, Bakal was doing pretty well. Forbidden Tomb was good until it stopped being a city.
Yep. And then, so really you have some priestesses down here. You have a warlord over here. You have an old Eleban's Observatory. And this would be knowledge that Kokani would know. It's a very, very powerful mage that keeps to himself named Eleban, who lives in this tower. Classic wizard tower.
Classic wizard shit.
Classic wizard shit. And then that is the Amonkhet Peninsula. And then there's one other place that we know of, known as the Divide. So the Divide is very far to the north. It's two land masses that are quite close together. Super little is known about it, but it is known as a place of strife and anguish. It is not a great place to be. Some of the only recorded history of the Divide comes from a priestess in Nepi's order, Xanthippe, in about the year 1281 ADW. So her prophecy was, at the edge of the world, death shall march from the deep. And she traveled to the Divide and she saw two land masses side by side, one of them almost scorched, with armies of soldiers marching out of chasms in the ground, and with war raging for centuries upon centuries of warfare. So she made it there, but they lost contact with her after this really foreboding message of an army of ghouls and undead marching up from a tunnel. And they lost contact with her, and attempts to scry on her had been unsuccessful. So that is all that we know about the Divide. That's it. So I don't want to go. Ever. That sucks. That sounds like it sucks.
We got a lot going on in Wolverine.
Yeah, we got a lot going on there. I'm trying to think if we've talked about all of those places. Look, we've talked about all of that. Talked about all of that. We've talked about all of that. We've talked about all of that. And I think we've talked about everywhere, except for the only thing we haven't talked about is the calendar. We had some questions about the calendar.
Let's dig into it.
I think the calendar, I think I can say pretty safely that this is one of M's favorite things.
It's my baby. It's my pride and joy. So the calendar was born out of the fact that I was like, well, we should have our own calendar system, because I was always curious with Tim, how long, what time of year is it? What's kind of going on? And I was like, are there any holidays? And Tim's like, I don't know, we should just create some. And I was like, you're going to just let me run with it? And he was like, yeah, go ahead. And I was like, great. So the calendar, Cody's actually going to throw up a link in the chat to, it should be bit.ly/ Blackwater Cal. And if it's not there, I will make sure it's posted on our Instagram so you guys can go take a look. I created the whole calendar. It's an 11-month calendar, 327 days, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. There's the days of the week are all named Martelen, Lamselen, Harenlen, Weertselen, Grisselen, Cantelen, and Demelen on a Monday to Sunday calendar. And then the months are basically based after patron gods. And then there's holidays that accompany them as well. It starts with the month of Selhir, dedicated to Selûn, which contains the holidays Ethereal's Renewal, which is like a holiday.
Wait.
Go ahead.
Okay. It's Selûn?
Selhir, which is Selhir, which is the patron god. Selûn, but Selûn's other name is
which is the god, which is the month.
Selhir is the month.
Okay. Yeah. Say Selhir to Selûn, who is the god of
the moon.
And
goddess
tides?
Of the moon. No.
Oh.
Not that I know of.
Just the one thing. That's very humble of her.
No, she's the goddess of other things. But Selûn or Sehenin are both of her names, and that's taken from traditional D&D canonical lore.
Okay.
As
Moon
well.
God.
Yes. And then there's the Lunar New Year, Ethereal's Renewal, and then the Crescent Hunt, which is like a night hunt that a bunch of it's usually worshipped by smaller groups that go out and hunt a stag at night. And then the next month is Denetherial, which is to the patron god of Moradin. And then there's the holiday of Aurora's Veil, which is kind of almost think like Christmas. Nice. It would be like a Christmas holiday. Lots of feasting and stuff like that. Go ahead.
So there's a dwarven holiday because it's Moradin.
It's not dwarven. Moradin is not necessarily linked to dwarves in this universe.
But if I'm not mistaken, Moradin is pictured as a fellow with an anvil.
Yes.
And quite a beard.
Yes.
And a hammer upon which to do work on said anvil.
Yes.
Sounds pretty dwarven to me. So is there a person connected to this holiday with a beard in the habit of making things who could then distribute them to the people of Teris as a means of rewarding them for their good behavior? Is that part of the celebration?
I mean, you've put it out there now, so I feel like Tim is in the chat saying, yeah, sure, that's exactly what happened.
Fuck. Yes.
When we started this show, I didn't think we would be giving Sean that sort of creative power about the universe.
So then there's Lucellen, which is the third month of the year to the patron god of Avandra. which holds
what's her jam? What's
she's the goddess of like luck and chance. And so there's the holiday of Fortune's Feasting, which is like there's lots of games and kind of like revelry, and then you share, and there's like festivals, and you share meals with people and stuff like that. Then there's the 4th month of the year, which is Iolanthi, to the patron god of Ayun. And then there's
who is knowledge.
Knowledge, yes.
Ayun loves her books.
She does. And so then the holiday there is Genevi, which is to celebrate the Genevi people who were like this roaming nomadic group. You bake bread, you put candles in your window, and you share stories with your family.
Oh, she's not just about the written word. She loves that oral tradition too.
Yeah.
Ayun.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then there is the month of Korshanel, which is the patron god of Corellin, and the holiday, the covet of coronation.
I'm gonna stop you again. What's Corellin's deal?
Art, music, and beauty.
Oh.
Yeah, he's an elven god, and Fawe Tavar would be under the purview of like Selûne and Corellin as well.
Okay.
So the
beauty
covet
boy.
Beauty boy. The covet of coronation is a holiday where you basically make art. And then there's like big art festivals, and there's lots of music and dancing and like outdoor public displays of artwork and stuff like that.
Dope.
Yeah. Then there's Elamine, which is Melora's month. So we've moved into like summer at this
goddess
month.
Of the wild.
Yes.
And growth.
Yeah.
And big mama nature.
Yes, Callie's goddess.
Used to have a thing with Arathis, but they've been kind of on ice for a bit. But maybe it's heating up again.
On ice for a bit because Arathis was in the ice plane? Did you do that on purpose?
Yes.
He did not.
Just say yes. No, just say yes. I know he didn't, but did he?
Of course. Look, I was there for that. Like, I remember like people we have a relationship. I don't remember like details of like stuff. Like you're naming a lot. Look, here's what I'm doing. You're naming a lot of things, and I'm like, okay, not gonna remember the month. But you're like, ooh, here's a little bit of flavor about this holiday. I'm like, okay,
remember
Dwarven
the holidays.
Santa.
Dwarven
I can
Santa.
remember the pretty boy. Like when you talk about Corellin, I'm just imagining a K-pop star. Like that's really clear in my mind what they look like.
Yeah.
And like I'm filling it in.
That's perfect. That's all you
basically just Hermione, but with glasses.
Are we gonna find out that Letters is like a big K-pop stan?
I don't know. He hasn't been exposed to Corellin. Maybe. Let's see what happens when the fucking holiday of public art rolls around, and they're putting up a mural and singing some rad elven e-pop.
When we did that e-pop, oh my god. When we did that,
that low elf pop is dirty. It's great. Like the high elf pop is a little too lyrical, but it's like, okay, yeah, no, we're filling this in right now. Sorry, Tim. Low elf pop, Ellie.
Just derailing.
No. Ellie pop is because they don't have the magic to amplify their instruments. Because HE pop is all very synthy, very magic. Ellie pop is kind of like folk punk.
It would be
where it's loud but all acoustic.
Well, in Fawe Tavar, the wood elves are the ruling class, and the high elves are the secondary class. So high elf pop would be folk punk.
Oh, did I get that switched around? Yeah, there you go. Chatwater will correct Sean.
So Elamine,
okay, yeah, that HE pop is that dirty shit.
That dirty shit.
It's got heart.
When we did the 6-month time jump, we essentially started at the beginning of Elamine. And that's when Callie...
Wait, let's roll this back. So there are wood elves out there who... This is fucking sick world building. I'm just going to call it, maybe just because I invented it right now, but there are wood elves out there who don't sound like Lothlorien, all the chorus and whatnot, don't have their flutes. They sound like fucking synthy K-pop. If you walk into this wooded area, you're getting close to the elves because there's just that sick,
just a bunch
synthy,
of,
or
it's
beats. It's like chill step. There's a dude with a marshmallow on his head.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is.
Is the greatest depiction of wood elves I think I've ever heard.
But it's like, because they're wood elves, it's sort of got that Shambhala vibe. So it's sort of like hippie,
but it's hoity-toity Shambhala.
Yeah. It's like what happened to Coachella. It's like they go into the woods, but they sleep in like fancy campers.
The whole place is the VIP area of Coachella. This is great. Tell me more. Okay,
the wood elves are all just influencers.
So when we started,
that's exactly what wood elves are. Like that's their whole society.
You are not wrong. Yeah.
Check out my weight loss tea.
Jeez.
That's not even a joke.
I want Letters to come with us to Faway-Tavar. I think that would be.
You think he's gonna skip that trip? I mean, you got to make your point with the zoning board, and it's hard to get those, so it's gonna have to go around Letters' schedule.
We'll figure it out. So Elamine is where we started from that 6-month break when Callie and Kamea got married, and then Kamea was crowned, and then we launched into everything else. The 2 holidays in Elamine are, and this is summer, we're thinking June, July at this point. The first one is the Spark, which is a holiday for young folks who basically build giant bonfires and just go dance and stay out way too late. And it's considered an adolescent rite of passage to go to the Spark.
Rumspringa.
Kind of, yeah. But without the leaving for weeks or months at a time. It's just one night where you go out and cavort. Then there's also Wild's Grandeur, which is where you travel the path less taken, you're supposed to take you're supposed to go visit another town or another place, and take the most beautiful wooded go enjoy nature. Is this whole path, this whole month, holiday. Then there is Corhirith, which is dedicated to the which is dedicated to Cord, and with the Day of Challenging, which is coming up very soon. We
love the Day of Challenge. We have talked about that. Tell me about Cord.
So Cord is the Storm Lord. He's also the patron god. The Temple of Cord in Wolfreen is there's just a bunch of monks. So there's lots of fighting.
Shaolin style monks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So the Storm Lord's I love 2 things:
fighting,
thunder, rain, kung fu.
Yeah,
Cord is great.
Cord's great. So then
not good at math, but
doesn't have to be. Not when
you're gonna tell him that he's the thunder and punching god. That's 3 things you don't want to mess with.
Lightning, thunder, and punching.
Then there is Peldavin, which is to Pelor. The patron god is Pelor. And then there's the holiday of the equinox of the Dawn Father, which is a very kind of I forget what it was now. It basically just pays homage to Pelor. There's some fire involved, and stuff like that. Then there is Thesera, which is with Arathis, the patron god of Arathis, and there's 2 holidays in Thesera, the first of the month and the last of the month, and we're into October-esque time of the year at this point. There's Caradest at the beginning of the month, which is where you pledge a task or an ability that you want to get better on through the month, and then you spend that month dedicating a lot of your time to that. And then at the end of the month there is Karanin, which is when you gather with your family and your loved ones and you show them what you've learned over the course of the month, whether you've created, and it's usually about creating something. Think tinkering, think building and stuff like that.
Now, if I can just drop some lore on this October Arathis thing, because
we all know Arathis is your favorite goddess. So
the spirit of this holiday was to create something and set your mind something and build something. But it is this it's a wonderful thing because it's getting colder outside, the leaves are falling, so it's spend some inside, make something to improve your family, your community. But over the years it has been changed slightly, where it seems these days everyone in this very fall autumnal season are trying to make things to make them appear as spooky as possible. And so ultimately what that means is when the last day of the month rolls around, everyone, because they've all jumped on the bandwagon, is just putting on their various skeleton costumes and like witch masks, which is awkward because witch is an actual profession in this world. So it's now the things they're giving their friends and family are actually frights. There's a lot of frights.
Not gifts, frights.
It is the gift of a fright.
It used to just be treats, and now it's trick or treat.
No, it's trick or treat.
It used to be treats, and now it's tricks. It's frights.
I feel like
spooks,
that's very much under Arathis' purview.
It's bumps. It's honestly getting out of control, but the young people seem to really like it.
They've really latched onto it.
It's moving into sort of cosplay at this point.
Yeah, like now people are like, I don't even need to make it spooky. Like it's gonna be spooky. How impressive!
Can I make this armor mechanized so that it moves?
Right. And can I figure out a way to imbue it with a light cantrip or something like that?
Yeah. That's really popular.
That's really popular these days. Yeah. Or can I put a small fog cloud spell under this to you know?
Always. Or even just a regular one. It only lasts an hour, but all you need to really do is show up at the party with the fog cloud spell. Everyone gets the vibe, and then you can turn it off. Yeah. And then you can just have a good time.
You don't want to be that guy who keeps it on the whole time.
No.
That's a waste of magic.
If you spend more than I'm gonna be liberal and say if you spend more than 3 spell slots during your end of the month party, you are you're overdoing it, and
it's too much.
You need to dial it back. Maybe instead of focusing on the magic, go back to the heart of the holiday and make the wardrobe a little better. Spend a little more time there.
Sean Defner's hot takes on
a little more time here.
Caradest and Karanine. Karanine, yeah.
Karanine, hell yeah.
So then we have Bamirin.
Wait, it's called Karanine?
Yeah.
Man, that's a real soft H. And that's spooky Karanine.
Spooky Karanine. Then we have the month of Bamirin.
Karanine comes.
You're not going to let me go forward. We have the month of Bamirin, which is to the patron god of Bahamut, with the holiday of Platinum.
Which is a big lawful dragon, right?
The Platinum Dragon. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So lawful good. So this is the holiday of Platinum's Path, which in more devout, which is usually only celebrated by more devout followers of Bahamut, which is you spend a while in silence, in contemplative prayer, challenging yourself to better yourself in the eyes of the Platinum Dragon.
Does this take place on the first of the month? So the last of the month is Karanine, and everyone's gets nutty, and it's the first of the month, and everyone wakes up, doesn't want to talk to anybody, and just regrets their decisions. They're ooh, don't talk to me. I gotta think about my life.
I can imagine that the folks that are celebrating Caradest and Karanine are maybe not the same folks who are celebrating Platinum's Path, but
Karanine's for everybody. Everybody likes a fright from time to time.
Mm-hmm. So that's Bamirin, and we're moving to November-ish kind of feel, and then we have Nearaven, which is the last month of the year, very December-esque, and that it used to be the patron month of the Raven Queen, but is now the patron month of Nepthisiket. So there are 2 holidays in this month. There is, and really only celebrated by those who follow Nepthisiket, so essentially just Nepi's order. There is the Night of Requesting, which is when you go to if you've had someone die recently, within the last little while, you can go to their gravesite and request an omen. You can beseech them to give you an omen from the future or from how they're doing. You ask the goddess to allow a moment's. So Nepi did this. She requested an omen from Torin, because she was hoping he was peaceful. And there was a sense of peace, but then restlessness, which is the omen she got from him during the Night of Requesting. And then there is the other holiday called Twilight's Grace, which is when a new, they sacrifice a raven, and then they oh my gosh, what's the word? They burn it, and then they use the ashes to fertilize a new tree in the grove, a new Alamwat tree in the grove. So they plant a new Alamwat tree every year in the grove, and that's the calendar. If the calendar is a Google Sheet, it's online. People can view it. They can't edit it, of course, but they can view it. Also, what I've been doing with it is I've been going in and basically tracking all of our sessions from when I started it through. So you kind of see the time progression. There's lunar cycles in it. There's notes on all the holidays and stuff like that. Someone asked if how was the calendar created? I did that. The holidays, some of them I took from the Matt Mercer's Tal'Dorei campaign guide and changed a little bit, and then some I invented myself. So that's my calendar. It's my baby. Please love it and show it a little bit of love because I love it.
No, please. You have to love it. It's
you have to love it.
Of the stream.
Yes. And that's it. We got through everything. Like we said, we would. chatWater. We got there.
Well, we also uncovered a ton of other stuff that we still need to talk about. But
of course.
Like, what's everybody dressing up for Karenine this year? Like, also, just genuinely, I feel like we should adapt that to our life. 1st of October, you have a party with your friends, which is chill, and you like set your intention for what you're gonna do for Halloween. Because like everyone leaves it to the last minute. And if everyone spent a month on their Halloween getup, Halloween would be at least 60% sicker. At least 60. We could get those numbers way up.
I will say I did have a little bit of help with some of the holidays. Matthew helped me out with some of the holidays around Arathas's month, and then Jen helped me out with the holiday of Genevieve. She created that one, so it's named after her, of course. Yeah. So that's all of the places in the world that we know about for now.
I would love to take a little bit more of a dive into at some point into how the two campaigns interact. And maybe that's something that we can wait for when Tim's here, because I would love to know how he builds a world where there's two groups doing shit that he can't foresee.
I will say that in the other campaign that I play in, he brought an NPC from that we have interacted with in recently in Blackwater's campaign over there. And I was shook. I was not okay after I learned what had happened, but I'm going to leave it at that.
What? You can't do that.
I can't share it because we may come across that person at some point. So that's the hard thing about being in the two campaigns and knowing so much. Drew, my Eladrin warlock, that's her campaign. With the one who needs to go rescue Gendel from the zoo in Sigil. So that's their campaign. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's a fantastic question for Tim. Like, how do you manage building lore for two campaigns and not repeating anything? How do they like interact with each other? Yeah. So fascinating. So cool.
Yeah. Cause I mean, a general rule of Dungeons and Dragons is as you level up, you put the world into more and more danger. But when the world is in danger from like the ultimate end, how does the other group not participate in that? So I think that's a really sort of interesting balancing act to try and like balance that. So yeah, I think that would be a good time to dive into it, and he can also then let us know things that he thinks are or that he deems appropriate to share.
Yeah,
because that's always I think the tricky thing for you, because you know stuff that other people don't. And
yes,
so
and I know stuff that then there is no way that Neppy would know. So I have to there's a lot of times where I have to really like moderate what I know and make sure that I'm not reaching too far with what I know. Yeah.
So next week we have Lennon on the show.
We do.
That's so exciting.
Very exciting, talking all things Callie. Exciting. Yes. So if you have any questions for Callie, please throw them up in the chat. I'll be posting that on the Instagram this week, so you can drop some questions in there. Just put them in the chat, #chatwater, and we will make sure we get all of those too. Like where she's from, what happened before she met up with Blackwater, how she met up with Blackwater, and who are all. Also talk so much about Callie and Kamea because that's the best.
Because they're our favorites.
I'm just going to let you know, because I know Lennon's watching right now. Just have a think about your relationship with like Kamea, because I want to dig into it. Like I just want to know, like, what's your perfect Sunday? Like, like I want to know, like, because we spent some time with it, but like everyone loves it. It's super cute.
And they did have like you guys said you took the 6 months
Yes.
break. So they did have a substantial amount of time together.
Yeah, they got engaged. Well, I'll let Lennon share all that.
We will be back on Saturday with our regularly scheduled programming, 8 p.m. Here on Blackwater D&D, and then we will be back again the following Monday for another episode of chatWater, specifically the one with Lennon. Thank you so much for joining us, you guys. I mean, the world is every time we say the world is a strange place, it seems to one-up us and become an even stranger place.
Wait, try this. World's a pretty normal place right now.
Yeah, it's a pretty normal place right now. But the thing is, part of the reason that we love this community and part of the reason that we love to do this is because it's a place that we can support one another and we can love one another and we can share together. And so, that's the kind of spirit I hope everyone can take from this and take into the general world, regardless of its current difficulties. So we love you and we appreciate you. And thank you so much for joining us.
Love you so much.
See you guys next week.
See you on Saturday. Bye.